Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive cultural shift we're seeing everywhere, the whole trend of protecting your peace. You know the advice, right? If someone stresses you out, just cut them off, ghost them. But we really have to ask, is that actually bringing us peace, or is it just making us, well, lonely? We're going to unpack how to find true mental peace. And spoiler alert, it's not about isolating ourselves, it's about mastering our internal landscape and setting some rock-solid external boundaries. Okay, let's kick things off with a fascinating little mental experiment. This actually comes from ancient teachings and was shared by Shi Hang Yi. I want you to try this right now. Seriously, give it a shot. Try to predict exactly what thought is going to pop into your head in the next 20 to 30 seconds. Can you calculate what's coming next? Probably not, right? Most of us quickly realize we have absolutely zero influence over what thought is going to suddenly appear in our mind next.
Part 1, the modern isolation trap.
So that little realization about our totally unpredictable thoughts actually highlights a huge contradiction in how we handle stress today. Think about it. We have zero control over our next thought, yet when those unpredictable thoughts and everyday external pressures start to overwhelm us, our modern knee-jerk reaction is to just cut people out of our lives entirely. Now, don't get me wrong. Creating distance is absolutely vital if someone is truly abusive or manipulative. But psychology shows us that hitting the eject button just because we're feeling emotionally exhausted, that's a trap. It literally strips us of the healthy human connections we deeply, deeply need to thrive. Part 2. You are not your thoughts. To break this cycle of externally isolating ourselves, we actually have to start internally. Look, since we've already proven we don't control the random thoughts popping up in our heads, we definitely shouldn't just blindly follow them. Actually, really embracing the idea that you are not your thoughts is a real game changer. It gives you that absolutely crucial mental distance to just observe a thought rather than instantly emotionally reacting to it. Because here's the deal. You're always faced with two internal choices. You can choose to create some distance, let the thought pass, and essentially master your mind, or you can get hooked by it. You can follow every random impulse and end up completely enslaved by your own automatic reactions. A perfect example of this is a simple 4-step sequence of how our internal state gets completely hijacked. First, the media streams the news. Okay, you have absolutely no influence over what they broadcast, right? But if you aren't paying attention to your own mind, you get hooked by the thoughts that broadcast generates. And boom, suddenly your emotional state is completely unstable. Without that mental distance, you leave your emotions totally at the mercy of whatever external impacts you just happen to scroll past or be exposed to.
Part 3, rethinking the toxic label.
All right, so once we've established a bit of that internal mastery, we can start aiming that exact same detachment outward, toward our relationships. We really need to fundamentally rethink how we view the people who cause us stress. It's just so incredibly easy to label a friend or family member as toxic after one misunderstanding. Social media basically begs us to do this constantly. But psychology proves that occasional conflict is just normal. It's a completely normal part of any human relationship. Disagreements happen. More often than not, the healthier move is simply addressing the issue directly, or maybe just adjusting our own expectations rather than rushing to totally cut them off. So the crucial takeaway here is that we're frequently not dealing with toxic people at all. Instead, we're just suffering from what psychologists call emotional overload. This is that heavy, exhausting pressure you feel when you falsely believe you are somehow responsible for managing everyone else's feelings. And hey, it's great to care, but you literally cannot solve everybody's problems. Part 4, boundaries over complete avoidance. So how do we translate this into a sustainable, real-world strategy? How do we actually handle all this emotional exhaustion? Well, we have to shift our game plan from completely avoiding people to simply putting some solid psychological boundaries in place. Setting practical limits is not selfish, guys. Deciding to not respond to messages the second you get them when you're trying to rest, steering clear of topics you know will trigger an argument, or simply saying, hey, I need some time to focus on myself today. These things allow you to stay connected to your community while fiercely protecting your own mental space. Part 5, tiered access and emotional detachment. Another incredibly effective way to keep those boundaries strong is to consciously recognize that not everyone out there requires the exact same level of access to your energy. You basically have tiers: an inner circle, casual friends, and then acquaintances. The stress really kicks in when we treat every single person like they're in that VIP inner circle. You don't have to banish someone from your life entirely just because they aren't safe to share your deepest, darkest secrets with. You just adjust the amount of trust and time you give them so they fit into their proper place in your life. Now, pairing this tiered approach with emotional detachment, that is an absolute game changer. Emotional detachment just means observing situations without instantly internalizing criticism or taking on another person's bad mood. You still care about them, for sure. But if someone is just in a foul mood, you don't absorb every single negative emotion they throw your way. It allows you to stay grounded and calm, even right in the middle of a super stressful interaction. Part 6. True Peace Through Acceptance. Ultimately, mastering our peace comes down to one fundamental shift in our expectations, and it's captured perfectly by this profound reality. People only change when they choose to. Protecting your peace externally means finally letting go of that exhausting, endless desire to control how other people behave, how they understand you, or how they react. Psychology consistently reminds us that we have to adjust our own responses and our own boundaries instead of fruitlessly trying to force others to act exactly the way we want them to. Bringing this all together, we've got to stop reacting blindly to our unpredictable thoughts and definitely stop cutting people off just out of sheer exhaustion. True peace isn't sitting alone in an empty room. It's about staying calm and balanced while maintaining the human connections that actually matter. And we do this by building an inside-out fortress of well-managed energy and crystal-clear limits. I'm going to leave you with a final question to kind of challenge your perspective as you navigate your relationships and your internal world moving forward. Are you truly protecting your peace, or are you just isolating yourself? Take some time today to reflect on your mental distance, your boundaries, and the connections you have in your life. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep mastering your mind.